Hello everybody, welcome to another review. Today I'm going to be reviewing the brand new album by External titled Dreamscapes. This was a record that I actually was following, but I completely forgot came out. So this is a January album, when I already did a video about the January stuff, but this should be the last of it. And I did say it last time, but I mean it because there's a lot of stuff coming in February and I don't want to overwhelm that, especially since I might be getting a job soon, which will take a lot more time away from me doing reviews, so I don't want to kind of keep digging to see what else I've missed. But we're going to be talking about this new album. So External, you probably don't know, this is a progressive metal band with a lot of interesting features to their sound. So the distinguishable thing I can tell with this record is that there's a bit less of that metal drive, because they're trying to push all these like kind of inspirations and push new fresh ideas, because you even have tracks like Limbo, which I'm going to go straight away into it. Limbo is insanely weird. It just feels kind of like a sore thumb, but it's not too bad either. I think Limbo is just kind of one of the more weirder tracks. It's short, but it just kind of gives you this little like trap sort of beat to it, and then afterwards towards the end it just builds up the screams and the guitars. It's a quite interesting concept, but the album actually is an interesting concept in terms of how it's separated in three parts in a way. It's a concept album that pretty much the first three songs is kind of this more grey melancholy direction, even though I will say it's not really as melancholy, but the terminology to it probably would be a lot darker. If you're listening through lyrics, definitely, but the overall aesthetic is it's not that grey, it just feels a little bit harsh in terms of its sound. Then it progresses into kind of a more playful, more ethereal sound with Lucid, Sudden Waves and Fall With Me. These were the more upbeat, happier tracks, and it's interesting that Sudden Waves is here because this one is like almost 7 minutes instrumentation, but the way it just kind of builds a story between going from some of the heavier riffs to just even bringing in some like unusual elements is what made this one stood out to me. But again, Sudden Waves I probably will say is actually my least favourite. Not as bad, I just feel like it probably shouldn't be 7 minutes is my only gripe with it. And then the last three tracks kind of goes to this more dark, twisted, nightmare-ish sort of direction. And I guess that makes sense with Ghost House, because this one is insanely heavy. I love the aesthetic on it. It's just pretty dark and grim, but the overall instrumentation and the vocals are just menacing on this one. And the last two, as I mentioned, Limbo, this one's so weird from their overall sound. It just sounds so distinguishable, and it's something that I would not expect from a progressive metal band, but it, especially like External, because there's definitely kind of a line that I feel like they definitely stepped out of their comfort zone to make a track like that. And then the final track is great. This one's 12 minutes, but honestly, it's a fun 12 minutes. I just love how this one is a roller coaster. It just, the way it kind of builds up this little bit of energy to just hit you with some of the heaviest, most intense riffs on the record, or at least a few of them, because there are some pretty harsh riffs on this album. And that's kind of like the overall feel of this record. There's a lot of like heavy buried, but compared to like kind of the earlier stuff, this is a bit tame in comparison, but I kind of like it because it's also showing more progression as well. The one thing I can note with this album is there's a lot of inspirations kind of worn on as a badge in this. You can definitely tell Vola is an inspiration to this one. Some of the vocal passages, some of the instrumentation just kind of remind me of in Maze's era Vola, or maybe even before that. But then you also get a little bit mixture of Agent Franco with some of the kind of the weird elements they bring into it, and then even some of the vocal passages which either shifts between Vola to Leprow to even Haken. There's definitely a lot of like ideas going in for this prog metal album. Now the reason I also get a Vola kind of sound to it is because the mixing is actually being done by the lead singer of Vola, who does a lot of the mixing and mastering for that band as well, which obviously they're in. It's It's a nice little concept, honestly. I think for a concept album, it's fun. You can definitely tell it's got inspiration, and they're trying to push out for some of their more unique sound. It's not quite there, though, because external to me still feels like they're trying to find their footing, but at the same time, they're dealing with a lot of these inspirations, and you kind of just hear more of that half the time. But then when you have experimental tracks like Limbo and Lucid, you kind of hear the more unique sound to external. So it feels like they're definitely going somewhere with it, and I'm enjoying it. But yeah, overall it's a good album. I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5. It was a nice kind of album to pick up and go into, and it's nice that I kind of remembered this one existed, because it's definitely one of the better albums I've heard so far this year. But that's my opinion. I hope you enjoy. Thank you so much for watching, and see you next video.